received critical acclaim for its like-a-tuned camera setup and dreamy design. The company is trying to do it again with the new Mate 20 Pro and Mate 20. We're taking a closer look at the Mate 20 Pro here today. The Mate 20 Pro doesn't look as good as the P20 Pro. There's something about the way the P20 Pro lined up the triple camera setup on the back that made it look elegant, and paired with the beautiful twilight color option, it quickly became one of the most beautiful phones on the market. The Huawei Mate 20 Pro has absolutely gorgeous color options: pink, gold, midnight blue, emerald, green, black, and twilight again, with the latter being our favorite. But it's the camera setup on the rear that has us frowning. It's a big, blocky square on the back housing 3 cameras and a flash. It's not ugly, but it doesn't look elegant at all, as though a Lego brick was stuck to the back of the phone. The twilight color really does make up for it, and so do the curved edges all around, which makes the Mate 20 Pro comfortable to hold. Over on the front is a 6.39-inch OLED screen that's curved around all the sides as well. It's a 3120 by 1440 resolution with a 19:5 aspect ratio, and the screen looks sharp, bright, colorful with inky blacks. There's a notch at the top of the screen, but it's about the same size as the notch on the iPhone XS. And unlike Google's massive notch on the Pixel 3 XL, it is a large 3D depth sensing array for facial recognition. The setup process is almost identical to setting up Face ID on an iPhone, and the phone unlocks the lock screen quite quickly. Similar to Google's autofill service, Huawei has Password Vault. It lets you store passwords and use the facial recognition system to access the app without having to type in a password. You'll essentially get an iPhone XS-like experience of accessing secure apps with just your face. Alternatively, if you don't want to register your face to unlock your phone, there's an in-display fingerprint sensor. What does that mean? There's no fingerprint sensor on the front or back of the phone. It's placed underneath the display. You'll see a fingerprint icon on the screen, and when you put your finger on it, the phone will unlock. This isn't the first time we've seen this type of technology before. It was present on the Porsche-designed Huawei Mate RS, but it didn't leave a good impression back then. It was slow and janky. On the Mate 20 Pro, Huawei said it's a new dynamic pressure sensing sensor, and the unlocking speed is 20% faster than the sensor on the Mate RS. It reacted quickly in our brief test, but we'd have liked to get more haptic feedback when unlocking the phone. The Mate 20 Pro has slim bezels all around and looks quite attractive from the front, but we'd have to bring up the Mate 20 here. The cheaper phone with fewer features actually looks better. It doesn't have the fancy facial recognition camera, which allows it to have a much smaller dewdrop notch at the top of the screen, but the bezels all around the phone are much slimmer than the Mate 20 Pro, delivering an almost full-screen bezel-less experience. It's an LCD screen though, with a lower resolution, so the screen doesn't have quite the same luster as the Mate 20 Pro. The Mate 20 Pro also has another advantage. It's IP68 water resistant, which means it can be submerged underwater for up to 1.5 meters for 30 minutes, unlike the Mate 20, which only has an IP54 rating. Huawei's sticking with a 3-camera setup on the rear, but each camera now has a purpose, and gone is the monochrome sensor. The standard lens packs 40 megapixels with an f1.8 aperture, and it's followed by an ultra-wide-angle lens with 20 megapixels and an f2.2 aperture, as well as a telephoto 8-megapixel lens with an f2.4 aperture and built-in optical image stabilization. If that setup sounds familiar, that's because it's a much more powerful variation of the LG V40's triple rear camera setup. The increased megapixel count on the Mate 20 Pro means you can expect much higher resolution photographs that can pack in way more detail. Switching around these 3 lenses felt fluid, but the interface isn't that intuitive. There's a slider, and you have to slide it down to an arbitrary 0.6 times setting so to be able to take access to the ultra-wide camera. The images taken by all 3 cameras look sharp, and it was fun playing around with all of them. It gives you plenty of ways to creatively come up with new perspectives for photographs, though some may miss the monochrome lens that offered beautiful black and white photos on the P20 Pro. There's artificial intelligence injected into the camera again. Huawei said its AI camera can suggest when to use the ultra-wide camera angle, and Master AI 2.0 can recognize a primary subject in the camera to keep it in focus. Like LG introduced with the LG V30 last year, there's an AI cinema mode that lets you apply video effects, such as using a 21:9 cinematic aspect ratio, or a Sin City-esque effect that keeps people in color and everything else in black and white. On the front, it's a 24-megapixel lens and the 3D depth sensing camera used for facial recognition. The camera looks to be a winner again, and we're excited to pit it against the Google Pixel 3, which currently has one of our favorite cameras of a smartphone. The Mate 20 Pro is powered by Huawei's Kirin 980 chipset, built on the 7nm process. with Huawei saying it delivers 20% speed improvement with 40% power efficiency. There are now 2 neural processors at the heart of the Kirin 980 and an 8-core GPU which delivers 75% better performance. We haven't put the phone through its paces yet, but we didn't see any problems moving around through the MUI 9 interface. Speaking of MUI, version 9 is based on Android 9 Pie, so you're getting the latest version of Android with all its features. Huawei said it reduced the complexity of the user interface by stripping the amount of menus in the Settings app. It has also increased the system responsiveness up by 47%, with apps launching up to 51% faster. The company also claims the phone should not slow down too much over time. A lot of the interface, though, still looks a lot like iOS for our liking. The operating system was quite responsive in our time using the phone, but we'll need more time to verify some of Huawei's other claims. We did like hearing that Huawei is bringing Google's digital well-being features over to the Mate 20 series to help people control smartphone usage. There's a 4,200 mAh battery on the Mate 20 Pro, which is 200 mAh bigger than the P20 Pro's battery. It's an impressive accomplishment considering how thin the Mate 20 Pro feels. It's a little concerning though, considering Samsung ended up with combusting Galaxy Note 7 devices because the battery was squeezed into a small space. Thankfully, Huawei said an independent agency named TÜV Rheinland certified the battery on the Mate 20 and the Mate 20 Pro, as well as the charging cable and adapter. If that big battery sounds like you'll have to wait a while for it to fully charge up, think again. Huawei claims its 40-watt Huawei Supercharge technology will get you up to 70% with just 30 minutes of charging. That's impressive and something we'll definitely be testing. Fast wireless charging is on board as well, but more interestingly, the Mate 20 Pro has the exclusive ability to wirelessly charge another phone. You heard that right. It's a reverse wireless charging. If you're out with a friend who has a phone that can wirelessly charge, but neither of you have battery packs, just place the phone on the Mate 20 Pro and you can top them off. We don't know how fast this is and how much battery life the Mate 20 Pro will lose in a short amount of time, but it's something we've yet to see before and excited to try out. Huawei has not shared pricing and release details of the Mate 20 Pro yet. We expect the price to sit around the $1,000 mark, and we speculate Huawei will bring the Mate 20 Pro to the US, but likely closer to January. We can't confirm this just yet though, but we'll update you as soon as we can. We're excited to get our hands on the Mate 20 Pro to see how the camera stacks up against the competition and how much it has improved over the P20 Pro. The phone also checks off all the boxes